we are going to work on Narnia. Well, there was something key yesterday that we read, and I want to go back to that because it's important. Remember, the witch was talking about what? She says she owned what or who? Grayson.
The white witch says she owns Edmund.
She owns what?
Edmund.
Basically, yes. She owns Edmund. Why? Why does she feel she has ownership over Edmund? Cole.
Because like the emperor, if like someone was a traitor, then the white witch would own it.
That's correct. She's basically saying that she owns so here on page 142 at the very top, you know that every traitor belongs to me as my lawful prey, and that for every treachery, I have a right to kill. What is treachery? Tyson?
Like danger.
It can be danger. Treachery is, oh, Ella, did you want to say something? No. Did you have something you want to say?
No.
Okay. So treachery is an act that is not good. An evil act. A bad act. So she is saying basically, and then also, what is a traitor? We talked about a traitor. There's another story we talked about this year that there was a traitor. Christian.
If somebody's your friend and then they become another, so it's there's a friend and he has another friend and then there's a friend all by himself and then one of the friends goes to play with him and then he doesn't tell the friend that he was used to play with him and then the friend that was used to be his friend finds out and then
Right, so basically you turn your back on somebody and you do something unkind. So we talked about, what other story is this sounding like? A traitor, going against somebody, turning your back on somebody to do something bad. James?
Judas?
Yes. So can we kind of equate Edmund with Judas? We can. Who can we equate the witch to? If we are doing a biblical comparison, who could we equate the witch to? Tyson?
Satan?
Yes. All right, so there's something very... So Aslan, he agreed, right, that yes, you do have that right. And she says on page 142, he knows that unless I have blood, as the law says, all Narnia will be overturned and perish in fire and water. So what? The word blood. What did Jesus have to shed in order to save us from our sins? Toby. Yes. So here is that word again, being brought up. So I want you to think about this as we go forward. It's important. So we see on page 145, Aslan and the witch are talking. Aslan, he looks a little what? What does that picture tell you? His shoulders are kind of down, his head is down. What does that read? I mean, does he look excited, happy, sad, worried, confident? What does he look like there on that picture? Tessa.
Worried?
Yeah. right, so the witch shows up. I'm going to read page, I am trying to remember where we ended.
We ended on 143.
That's what I thought. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to read 143, and then I'll have you all read as well. But I want you to listen closely. This is all very important. So Edmund is on the other side of Aslan, looking at all the time at Aslan's face. He felt a choking feeling and wondered if he ought to say something. But a moment later, he felt that he was not expected to do anything except to wait and do what he was told. Fall back, all of you, said Aslan, and I will talk to the witch alone. They all obeyed. It was a terrible time, this waiting and wandering, while the lion and the witch talked earnestly together in low voices. Lucy said, "Oh, Edmund," and began to cry. Peter stood with his back to the others, looking out at the distant sea. The beavers stood holding each other's paws and their heads bowed. The centaurs stamped uneasily with their hooves. But everyone became perfectly still in the end, so that you noticed even small sounds, like a bumblebee flying past, or the birds in the forest down below them, or the wind rustling in the wind. And still the talk between Aslan and the White Witch went on. At last, okay, first of all, before I continue, what are they thinking is going to happen? What is the witch asking for? Who is the witch asking for? What is the payment? Quinchine. Yeah. Edmund. Remember, she says, I owe him. I own him. He is mine. So that is why Lucy starts crying. That is why everyone is uneasy, because what are they thinking? What do they think is going to happen? The witch made very clear what she wants to do. What are they worried about? What's going on? It's important for you to understand this because it's very significant. Jonathan.
They're worried about whether Edmund's going to go.
And if the witch takes Edmund, what did the witch say she was going to do? She was very specific. Luke.
She was going to kill him?
Yes. At last they heard Aslan's voice. You can all come back, he said. I have settled the matter. She has renounced, meaning she has given up the claim on your brother's blood. And all over the hill there was a noise, as if everyone had been holding their breath and had now begun breathing again. And then a murmur of talk. The witch was just turning away with a look of fierce joy on her face when she stopped and said, "But how do I know this promise will be kept?" "Arr!" roared Aslan, half rising from his throne, and his great mouth opened wider and wider, and the roar grew louder and louder. And the witch, after staring for a moment with her lips wide apart, picked up her skirts and fairly ran for her life. All right, some kind of agreement has been made. Edmund is no longer part of the agreement. But what does the witch say she needs in order to fulfill this situation? In order for it to be considered a done deal? There has been a betrayal. Edmund has betrayed his brother and sisters, and Aslan, and the beavers. What does the witch say needs to be done? What needs to be shed? Owen.
What?
Yes. But Edmund is no longer the person that is going to be sacrificed, so to speak. So what does that mean? All right, we are on chapter 14. The triumph of the witch. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Do we want the witch to triumph?
No.
We don't. All right, Gabe. If I can get my glasses on. We are on page 145, chapter 14, the triumph of the witch. You may start at the top and end where it says, roar, and so nobody dared.
As soon as the witch had gone, Aslan said, "We must move
Other purposes.
We shall encamp tonight at the fort of
Viruna. Okay.
Of course, everyone was dying to ask him how he had
Arranged. All right, so Aslan is not appearing to be very happy. What does it mean to be stern? He is stern. M.
Like serious?
Yes. Very, very serious. Indeed. He just made a deal with the witch. So he's probably feeling a little uneasy, is my guess. All right, Helen, read the next next paragraph. After a meal and had not far to go.
After a meal which was taken in the open air on the hilltop, for the sun had got strong by down the dried of the grass.
And the dried the grass.
They were busy for a while taking the
Pavilion.
down the packing things up. Before 2 o'clock, they were on the march and set off in the northeasterly direction, walking at an easy pace, for they had not far to go.
All right, so what area are they leaving? Where were they at the moment? They had set the pavilion up at where? Where did they meet Aslan? What was that specific place? Olivia?
The stone table.
The stone table. So they're leaving the stone table because Aslan said something else, that area was going to be used for something else. So they're moving. M, you may read on page top of, wait a minute, we are on this. So you can read that during the first part of the journey until, well, I guess, till the end of that paragraph.
During the first part of the journey, Aslan explained to Peter his plan of
Campaign. What does that mean? Plan of campaign. Owen. Oh. What do you think that means? During the first part of the journey, Aslan explained to Peter his plan of campaign. Cole.
like a job.
Kind of. Yes. But for something very specific. Tyson.
His plan of everything that will happen in the battle?
So you're saying the campaign is a battle?
Maybe.
Maybe. Yes. Do you think that there is a battle brewing? Yes. So a campaign is a battle. And Aslan and Peter are discussing what's going to happen. There's strategizing, basically. Because remember, Aslan knighted Peter after he killed the wolf, right? So now Peter is probably like a commander in the army, or in Aslan's army. All right, so that is what's going on. They're discussing what's going to happen, what possibly could happen. Okay, go, Miss M.
As soon as she has finished her business in these parts, he said, the witch and her crew will almost certainly fall back to her house and prepare for a siege.
What is a siege? Owen.
Like,
Exactly. So he's saying the queen, once she's done with this aspect of the plan, of her plan, she's going to go back to her house and plan a siege, meaning an attack, a battle. So they're definitely planning for a battle. All right, go ahead, Ms. M.
You may or may not be able to cut her off and prevent her from reaching it. Then he went on to outline 2 plans of battle. One for fighting the witch and her people in the wood, and another for assaulting her castle. And all the time he was advising
Peter.
Peter how to conduct the operation, saying things like, "You must put your centaurs in such a place," or "You must post scouts to see that she doesn't do so and so." So at last, Peter said.
All right, stop right there. Okay, so what is missing on these plans? He's telling Peter that you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to do this if this happens. Who is not part of the plan? Who has taken himself out of the plan? McKenna. Emmy. Yeah, he's not part of these plans. He is telling Peter specifically what to do in each scenario. But where's Aslan? Curious. All right. Good reading. All right, Grant. Why don't you read, but you will be there, Aslan, yourself, and then read to very much and seemed to them to be sad. All right, very good. He seemed very sad. Why on earth is Aslan sad? Why is he not putting himself in the plans? All right, good job, Grant. Luke. You may read that next paragraph. Start at, it was still afternoon, and then try a night attack or anything.
Okay. It was still afternoon when they came down to the river, with ford and shallow. This was the ford of Vern.
Yeah, fords of Veruna.
Ford of Verona, and Aslan gave orders to halt on this side of the water. But Peter said, "Wouldn't it be better to camp off the far side?" So here he said, "Try a night attack or anything."
Very good. Aslan, who seemed to have been thinking about something else, roused himself with a shake of his magnificent mane and said, what's that? Peter said it all over again. "No," said Aslan in a dull voice, as if it didn't matter. "No, she will not make an attack tonight." And then he sighed deeply. But presently he added, "All the same, it was well thought of. That is how a soldier ought to think. But it doesn't really matter." So they proceeded to pitch their camp. Why does it not matter? How does he know the witch isn't going to attack? What is going on? If you've read it, please don't share. Does anyone who has not read the book have any thoughts as to what is going on? We can sit in our seats in a normal way. Feet on the ground. Helen.
That because I made it.
Because what?
Because they made a deal.
Who made a deal?
Aslan and the witch.
Yeah. Something's going on with that deal. You have to wait till someone comes back. McKenna.
I think that's because the blood had to be shed. I think Aslan might be the one with the blood had to be shed.
Olivia.
Maybe Aslan might leave.
Maybe Aslan might leave. Something's going on, for sure. All right, let's keep reading. Both very good guesses. All right, Jack, you may read the next paragraph. We are on, oh, you don't, do you have your book?
Yeah.
So we are on page 147, Aslan's mood, and then read that paragraph.
Aslan moved affected everyone that evening. Peter was feeling uncomfortable too. At the idea of
Fighting.
fighting the battle on his own, the news that Aslan might not be there had come as a great shock to him. Supper that evening was a quiet meal. Everyone felt how different it had been last night or even that morning. It was as if the good times having just begun were already drawing to their end.
All right, who has ever experienced being around somebody who is maybe sad or upset, or their mood is darker and it just kind of brings everything down? Who's ever had that experience? Yes. It's amazing how people's emotions, their behavior can affect everyone around them. So you get a feeling that the fact that Aslan, his mood has shifted, something is different, and the whole camp is affected by that. Because they look to Aslan as what? Aslan is a what to them? James? Yes. And when you have a leader such as Aslan, and when something goes, and when his mood shifts or something doesn't seem quite right, it affects everyone around them. Let me just throw out an idea. So there was a deal made between the witch and Aslan. What was Jesus' feeling in the Garden of Gethsemane? How was his emotion? How was he feeling? Olivia.
He was feeling scared.
Was his emotions, was he excited, or was he, like right now with Aslan, just his emotions are very down. His demeanor is very down. People are noticing that something is wrong. Emmy? Yeah. All right, let's keep reading. I'm going to read a little bit and then I will pass it off back to you. This feeling affected Susan so much that she couldn't get to sleep when she went to bed. And after she had lain counting sheep and turning over and over, she heard Lucy giving a long sigh and turn over just beside her in the darkness. Can't you sleep either? Or can't you get to sleep either? Said Susan. No, said Lucy. I thought you were asleep. I say, Susan, what? I have the most horrible feeling, as if something were hanging over us. Have you? Because as a matter of fact, so have I. So they had this feeling. Something about Aslan, said Lucy. Either some dreadful thing is going to happen to him, or something dreadful that he's going to do. There's been something wrong with him all afternoon, said Susan. Lucy, what was that he said about not being with us at the battle? You don't think he could be stealing away and leaving us tonight, do you? Where is he now? Said Lucy. Is he here in the pavilion? I don't think so. Susan, let's go outside and have a look around. We might see him. All right, let's, said Susan. We might just as well be doing that as lying awake here. Very quietly, the two girls groped their way among the other sleepers and crept out of the tent. The moonlight was bright and everything was quite still except for the noise of the river chattering over the stones. Then Susan suddenly caught Lucy's arm and said, "Look!" On the far side of the camping ground, just where the trees began, they saw the lion slowly walking away from them into the wood. Without a word, they both followed him. He led them up a steep slope out of the river valley and then slightly to the right. Apparently by the very same route which they had used that afternoon in coming from the hill of the stone table. On and on he led them, the dark shadows and out into pale moonlight, getting their feet wet with heavy dew. He looked somehow different from the Aslan they knew. His tail and his head hung low, and he walked slowly, as if he were very, very tired. Then, when they were crossing a wide open place, there were no shadows for them to hide in. He stopped and looked around. It was no good trying to run away, so they came toward him. When they were closer, he said, "Oh, children, children, why are you following me?" "We couldn't sleep," said Lucy, and then felt sure that she need say no more, and that Aslan knew all they had been thinking. "Please, may we come with you, wherever you're going?" asked Susan. "Well," said Aslan, and seemed to be thinking. Then he said, "I should be glad of company tonight. Yes, you may come if you promise to stop when I tell you. And after that, leave me to go on alone." "Oh, thank you, and we will," said the two girls. Forward they went again, and one of the girls walked on each side of the lion. But how slowly he walked, and his great royal head drooped so that his nose nearly touched the grass. Presently he stumbled and gave a low moan. "Aslan, dear Aslan," said Lucy, "what is wrong? Can't you tell us? Are you ill, dear Aslan?" said Susan. "No," said Aslan, "I am sad and lonely. Lay your hands on my mane so that I can feel you are there, and let us walk like that." So what is going on? Why he is very down, not himself. What do you think might be going on with Aslan? Helen? Maybe he's getting sick. You say he's sad and lonely. Grayson?
Maybe the other was the witch took Aslan Peter thought.
Good guesses. Jonathan? You think he's going to go to the witch's house? Maybe. James? Toby?
He was going to go to the witch's house and the witch is going to turn him into stone.
Maybe. All right, let's keep reading. Wenchine. Let's see. So read, and so the girls, and then read to that end of that paragraph.
And so the girls did what they would never have dared to do without his permission. But what they had longed to do ever since they first saw him. Hurried their cold into the beautiful sea of fur and stroked it. And so doing, walked with him. And presently they saw that they were going with him up the slope of the hill on which the stone table stood. They went up at the side where the creeping fly was up. And when they got to the last tree, it was the one that had some bushes around it. Aslan stopped and said,
Okay, good. Olivia, you may read till it says a great crowd. And both girls cried bitterly.
and
Wait,
both-
no, oh, children. That's where you, and then to what they saw.
Okay. Oh, children, children, here you must stop. And whatever happens, do not let yourselves be seen. Farewell. And both the girls cried bitterly, though they hardly knew why, and clung to the lion, and kissed his mane, and his nose, and his paws, and his great sad eyes, and turned from them, and walked out onto the top of the hill, and Lucy and Susan, crouching in the bushes, looked after him, and this is what they saw.
Okay. A great crowd of people were standing all around the stone table. And though the moon was shining, many of them carried torches, which burned with evil-looking red flames and black smoke. But such people, ogres, with monstrous teeth, and wolves, and bull-headed men, spirits of evil trees and poisonous plants, and other creatures whom I won't describe, because if I did, the grown-ups would probably not let you read this book. Cruels and hags and incubuses and wraiths and whores, efreets, sprites, orkneys, I don't know what these are, woozes and edens. These are all evil creatures. In fact, here were all those who were on the witch's side and whom the wolf had summoned at her command. And right in the middle, standing by the table, was the witch herself. A howl and a gibber of dismay went up from the creatures when they first saw the great lion pacing toward them. And for a moment, even the witch herself seemed to be struck with fear. Then she recovered herself and gave a wild, fierce laugh. "The fool!" she cried. "The fool has come! Bind him fast!" Lucy and Susan held their breath, waiting for Aslan's roar and his spring upon his enemies, but it never came. 4 hags, grinning and leering, yet also at first hanging back and half afraid of what they had to do, had approached him. "Bind him, I say," repeated the White Witch. The hags made a dart at him and shrieked with triumph when they found that he made no resistance at all. Then others, evil dwarfs and apes, rushed to help him, and between them they rolled the huge lion over on his back and tied all 4 paws together, shouting and cheering as if they had done something brave. Though had the lion chosen, one of those paws could have put the death of them all. But he made no noise, even when the enemies, straining and tugging, pulled the cord so tight that they cut into his flesh. And then they began to drag him toward the stone table. "Stop," said the witch. "Let him first be shaved." Another roar of mean laughter went up from the followers as an ogre with a pair of shears, which is a scissors, came forward and squatted down by Aslan's head. Snip, snip, snip went the shears, and masses of curling gold began to fall to the ground. Then the ogre stood back, and the children, watching from their hiding place, could see the face of Aslan looking all small and different without his mane. The enemies also saw the difference. "Why, he's only a great cat after all," cried one. "Is that what we were afraid of?" said another. And they surged around Aslan, cheering at him, saying, "Pussy, puss, puss." And how many mice have you caught today, cat? And would you like a saucer of milk, pussums? "Oh, how can they?" said Lucy, tears streaming down her cheeks. "The brutes, the brutes!" For now that the first shock was over, the shorn face of Aslan looked to her braver and more beautiful and more patient than ever. "Muzzle him!" What is a muzzle? Grayson.
It's like one of those mouth cages.
Yes. So he can't talk or he can't bite. What is going on here, friends? What does this remind you of? Who else went willingly and without fighting and was treated horribly, disgraced, and hurt, physically and emotionally? Toby?
Jesus?
Yes. Why is Aslan not fighting? Why is he resolved to this? What is he doing? There is an important comparison here that I want you to understand. Why did Jesus not fight? Why did he not put up any resistance when he went to the cross? He was whipped. He had to wear a crown of thorns. He was treated horribly. They jeered and teased him. Very similar to what's going on here. Why did Jesus not fight? Emmy.
Because he knew it was going to happen.
He knew it was going to happen. Does Aslan know it's going to happen? Yeah. Why is he doing it? Let's read on. Not an easy thing to listen to, is it? Even now, as they worked about his face, putting on the muzzle, one bite from his jaws would have cost 2 or 3 of them their hands. But he never moved. And this seemed to enrage all that rabble. Everyone was at him now. Those who had been afraid to come near him, even after he was bound, began to find their courage. And for a few minutes, the 2 girls could not even see him. So thickly was he surrounded by the whole crowd of creatures, kicking him, hitting him, spitting on him, jeering at him. Alas, the rabble had had enough of this. They began to drag and bound the muzzled lion to the stone table, some pulling and some pushing. He was so huge that even when they got him there, it took all their efforts to hoist him onto the surface of it. And there was more tying and tightening of the cords. The cowards, sobbed Susan. Are they still afraid of him even now? When once Aslan had been tied and tied so that he was really a mass of cords on the flat stone, a hush fell on the crowd. 4 hags holding 4 torches, which is a stick with flame, stood at the corner of the table. The witch bared her arms, and she had bared them the previous night when it had been Edmund instead of Aslan. Then she began to whet her knife, which means she sharpened it. It looked to the children, when the gleam of the torchlight fell on it, as if the knife were made of stone, not of steel, and it was of strange and evil shape. At last she drew near. She stood by Aslan's head. Her face was working and twitching with passion, but his looked up at the sky, still quiet, neither angry nor afraid, but little sad. Then, just before she gave the blow, she stooped down and said in a quivering voice, "And now who has won? Fool! Did you think that by all this you would save the human traitor? Now I will kill you instead of him, as our pact was end, so the deep magic will be appeased. But when you are dead, that will prevent me from killing him as well, and who will take him out of my hand then? Understand that you have given me Narnia forever. You have lost your own life, and you have not saved his. In that knowledge, despair and die." The children did not see the actual moment of the killing. They couldn't bear to look and had covered their eyes. All right. Things seem rather hopeless. So do you think, though, as Susan and Lucy are watching this horrible event,
Yeah.
what do you think they're feeling? Olivia?
Scared and lonely.
Yes. Toby? Yes. Helen?
I would be terrified because, like, let's say I was like Susan or Lucy, I would be scared that they might kill us.
Yes. What is it sounding like? How did the 12 feel when Jesus died? Do you think they felt exactly how Lucy and Susan are feeling?
Yeah.
Exactly. Peter was so scared he denied him 3 times. Everybody was scared. Their leader has died. Now what? Everything that we believed is now gone. Or is it? We don't know. But Aslan willingly died to save Edmund. But what did the witch say? Did she say it was over just because he gave his life? No. No, the witch does not believe that at all. So we're going to put a mark on this, and we're going to read some more. Ooh, hopefully we can get done tomorrow.
Yep, not too much.
So this does not look good. This leaves a very sad and yucky feeling. Just as we read about Jesus dying on the cross. So let's hope there is a good ending, just as Jesus had a good ending, right? We will find out tomorrow. Yes, Olivia.
I have a comparison.
Yes.
Peter is kind of like Peter in the Bible because Peter was brave and also Peter in the book was brave.
Yes.
Peter and Peter.
Peter and Peter. So when we're done, we'll see a lot of correlations. Yes, quickly. All right, so what we are going, oh, yes, I mean,
This is gross brown stuff.
what's that?
This is weird brown stuff on this book.
Oh, sorry.
Where?
Well, these books have been around for a while, so somebody might have spilled something on it. All right, this is what we're going to do. Boy, you need to take I will take your crate. Oh, yes, and I will take that. Thank you.